Hello, it's Sybil. As you heard in the music there, I am Sybil Wilkes, and welcome to our days with the fellas. It's me and the boys. As I said before, I like saying that, but I don't want to offend anybody by calling you boys. So, Damon Williams, do I offend you?
Not at all, Sybil. I want to be a boy as long as I can.
I know that's right. And young Cameron, how are you? Are you offended by the talking to you as a boy or referring to you as such?
Sybil, I put in 30 years on this planet, so I will hereby no longer be referred to as boy. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Young man. All right. Boy and man. All right. It's the fellas. How you doing, Damon?
Doing great. How about you guys?
Doing okay. Did you have a successful weekend?
Yes, with the fellas. I won't call them boys in case they have that same issue as Cameron. Huggy and Chris were, of course, amazing. Very funny. Very, they work off each other well. Their manager's a psychopath, but that's a whole other story.
Black management? Yes, he is. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I hope Pop is watching. I was at Deion Cole's mother's funeral. And God bless Deion Cole and loss of his wonderful mother, Charlene Cole. Mm-hmm. And Pop kept texting me, telling me we need to go over these numbers. I'm like, you don't do this to the white club. Yeah, so I hope he's watching. I like to burn a couple bridges on this show every once in a while. But if I got to talk to Pop again, then I'm not talking to them again. Because
you know what? If I'm not mistaken, Damon, you're not the first person to say that about Pop. So.
No, but it was great. We had a great time.
That's good. That's good. And how are you, Cameron? How's things going?
I'm feeling well.
You're wanted by the law. Is that what I understand?
That was off the air.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, it's out there now, brother.
Can't tell me anything, Cameron.
Just trying to get my license renewed, and the state of Illinois is giving me a bit of a hard time. But it's all right. I called my lawyer, and Anthony and I are going to get it sorted out.
So. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, if it's not Ward White, the attorney at law, he's not doing you a damn bit of good.
I got a plug at the DMV. Holler at me off the air.
There it is. All right.
And speaking of the connection between you two, did you know Damon, the father, that Cameron went to school with Damon, the son?
Yes, I think I was aware of that.
Were you? This could be a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it was mentioned, but maybe not. But today is Damon's birthday, by the way.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Happy birthday to Damon AF.
Happy birthday, Damon.
All right, so let's talk about what's going on. Let's talk topics and what is topical today. This is a story that has been very close to my heart, and as well as to my attention. Has taken up a great deal of my attention, and this is the another horrific shooting of a Black woman. This is a long time in coming in the murder of Tatiana Jefferson. This young woman was in her family's Fort Worth home playing video games with her nephew. The front door was open. The neighbors saw it. They called the police to do a wellness check. They sent the police out to the house to check. The policeman went around the house. A white policeman went around the house, and without really identifying himself fully, but within a second of what he said, identifying himself as police, he shot through a window and killed Tatiana Jefferson. She was 28 years old, as I said, playing with her nephew. And this was back in 2019. Well, the trial date has been set for the former Fort Worth police officer, Aaron Dean. He is charged in her murder. And now it shows that the jury trial has been set to begin Tuesday, November 16th in Tarrant County. That's the county of Fort Worth. And the court proceedings have been paused because of the pandemic. This happened on October 12th of 2019. As I said, a neighbor requesting a welfare check saw the door open. They parked around the corner, the police did, when they saw it was an open structure call. And it was about 2:00 in the morning. She was up with her nephew playing video games. They heard a noise. She went to get her gun. The cop was at the window and saw her and shot through the window and killed Tatiana Jefferson. That trial is finally coming to a courtroom in Fort Worth, Texas.
Man, there should only be one outcome from that because she obviously posed no threat to him if he was outside the building.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a sad story, and it's one that's been repeated too many times in our communities.
Yeah.
Just like the lady here when they raided her house and she was naked.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let her put clothes on, and they were at the wrong house.
Right. It turns out they were at the wrong house, Damon, as you said. A woman, a social worker, coming home from work in her own apartment, and they burst in, right? And and for what, 30 minutes or so, they made her stand there fully naked before somebody got a covering for her as they attempted to work this out.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Black people just aren't afforded the same human decency as others when it comes to arrests. And it makes me nervous knowing that Texas has rolled back its gun restrictions, and we have Black people saying, "Okay, great, I can go buy a gun," but that doesn't make you any more or less safe than you were without one. This woman was in the safety of her own home trying to defend herself, and she was still shot through the window without any sort of probable cause. It's disgusting and it's disgraceful. I hate hearing stuff like this.
And it's frightening. I mean, how do you figure that as a middle-aged Black woman, you come home from your job as a social worker and this is going to happen to you? How do you figure as a young woman with a very bright career in the medical field is just taking care of her family and watching her nephew and having some fun with this kid, and a police comes in and shoots her and kills her? How do you figure that a woman is in her apartment with her fiance and the police come in with a so-called no-knock warrant? I keep doing the air quotes today, but with the so-called no-knock warrant and come in and shoot through the door, and the fiance, protecting his woman, shoots back, and then they shoot back with a multitude of bullets, 6 of which hit her and killed her. And of course, that's a reference to Breonna Taylor. How does this happen? And as you say, no respect whatsoever, no deference given to these people. And as Coy was talking in her story yesterday in our previous discussion about this, is that, when white men get picked up for doing wrong things, they get taken for a burger, or they are given the respect that the police think that they're due. Saying that the killer in Atlanta of the spa shootings, he was having a really bad day.
Yeah, I mean, we understand it's unequal treatment for sure. I mean, even the situation now with the young lady who they just found in Wyoming, the police stopped them. There was a domestic dispute. He was spotted slapping her. That was the report they were given.
Yep.
And they were still allowed to go, and he went on to kill the woman allegedly. And now he's out hiking in the woods freely.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a story that we're going to talk about in tomorrow's newsletter. But thank you for reminding me to give that update. They did find and identify the body of Gabby Petito. And this is a young woman that's been missing, according to her family, for the last 10 days or so. Another story I wanted to talk about, and only in Texas. This is just so incredibly bizarre. After ordering a couple to leave because they refused to take off their mask when inside of a restaurant, a couple was made to leave a restaurant because the restaurant owner has a no mask policy.
Yeah.
You heard me. They have a no mask policy, and this couple having a night out for the very first time after having a newborn. They go to this restaurant, they have their mask on, and the waitress comes over and says, "I'm sorry." The boss says, take your mask off. And they said, "We can't. We're trying to do the right thing by not spreading or taking any diseases." And so they said, "Well, then you have to leave." And they kicked him out. Now, the reason why they were wearing the mask is because they have a newborn who is immunocompromised. And even when explained to them, and the boss, the restaurant owner, eventually did find this, and he has apologized. But these new parents and their friends in Rowlett, Texas, which is just outside of Dallas, they said that they, are going out there. They had both been completely vaccinated, and they decided to wear the mask to protect their 4-month-old baby. And the waitress came over, sat down, and said, "Our manager sent me over because I'm nicer than he is. And yes, this is very political, but you need to take your mask off."
It's ridiculous. It's a stupid policy. I read that story earlier today. he said that's part of his dress code and there'll be no mask. And the crazy part is black people shouldn't be going there anyway, because the name of the place, and I don't know what the couple was, is Hang Time.
Right. Right.
So let's avoid that place to begin with.
And that's it. Yeah. And I believe the couple was white, but be that as it may, I don't even think anybody should be going to a place called that, but okay.
Yeah, this is my first time hearing this. And I mean, talk about like a robbing of civil liberties. Like, you tell me that I can't protect myself and my child on my own terms.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Right. Right. And for Damon, as you mentioned, for him to say that it was a part of the dress code, a no mask policy, this is how some schools in Texas have gotten away with requiring the children to wear masks by saying we have a mask policy as a part of our dress code. And so they flipped it. This guy flipped it in order to prevent people from coming in and obviously in a very political situation.
Yeah. And see, the thing is what people would never consider when people have on masks, because before the pandemic, you would see people on masks coming on planes, and it might be and no disrespect to the hashtag, but it might be a little Asian person. And Asians been wearing masks for a while. And whenever I saw the person with the mask on, I was glad to see it, because I didn't know if that mask was to protect them from us or to protect us from them. It could be somebody coming in with this, and you might catch that if I take this mask off. So
right.
You might not want what I have, so let people wear their mask regardless, as long as they're not obscuring their entire face, where it could be like a disguise for a crime. Then there's no way you should have a policy against wearing masks.
This is just
the Japanese and the Chinese normalize mask wearing. They even normalize taking off of work if you get even the slightest cough. But we Americans, we haven't just gotten behind the thought of just protecting one another just yet. If only masks stop the spread of racism.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Or ignorancism.
Yeah. Just flat out bigotry, period.
Let's talk about this new policy. The very first airport in the country has required vaccinations of all of their workers, and this is in San Francisco. All workers at San Francisco International Airport must be fully vaccinated against COVID-19, according to the new rules announced today. The requirement goes into effect immediately, applies to all airline, service, concession, and construction employees. And they had said that SFO, San Francisco, the airport, is the first in the nation to implement this vaccine requirement. Supports all their aggressive measures to protect the health and safety of our region and our continued economic recovery, according to the mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, a sister.
I mean, I can see flight attendants. I mean, flight attendants go through so much schooling and training. If the last hurdle for you to get onto that airline is just to take a vaccine, why not at that rate?
Well, a lot of the airlines, Cam, as you know, well, some have required vaccination and others are saying, well, like American, we'd like for you to be vaccinated. We're not going to require you. But if these people are going to be flying in and out of San Francisco, that's going to mean either they get put on another route or they don't work through San Francisco at all anymore. And so this is going to be an interesting I guess come to Jesus moment for some of the airlines that are not requiring it and those that are flying in and out of San Francisco International.
Absolutely. And it's still a whole pandemic outside. The Delta variant is as strong as ever. And the vaccination just increases your likelihood that you'll survive coronavirus if you happen to contract it. A case in point, Chris Rock and Jesse Jackson and many of our other Black professionals who have gotten it recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I understand what the thinking is behind everyone being vaccinated for the sake of us overall, but vaccinations don't prevent the spread or the contraction of the virus. So to force a mandate to make people be vaccinated when some people have, you might have some type of allergic reaction, you could have other underlying issues. I think that's going too far. It'd be different if the vaccine guaranteed that you couldn't pass or catch the virus. Now, they should have stringent testing, Like
They
everyone should
do.
have to be tested on a daily basis. I could see that being a mandate, but forced vaccination, I think it's kind of pushing the line too far. And I'm not one of these people who, thinks government overreach is an issue or civil liberties are important to the point where they're infringing on our freedoms. But there are certain people that are heartfelt against it. There are other people that have other underlying issues, and you can't. So now you got to choose between your health and your occupation. And I mean, I'm vaccinated, and I'm not saying this as an unvaccinated person. I'm just saying to force every employee under all circumstances, or you have to lose your job. I think that's going a bit too far.
So here's the deal, guys. They are saying that according to the new rules, every airport tenant or contractor must require all on-site personnel to be fully vaccinated. Exemptions granted due to a medical disability or a sincerely held religious belief. And in that case, the employees who receive the exemptions must undergo weekly testing.
Okay.
That sounds fair to me, Damon.
Yeah, well, that's what I was calling for, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. So, I guess. This is really interesting, and this goes back to a story that we talked about, Cameron, and the story that you did about the governor of California who recall election that he succeeded against last week. He was called because he was at this very fancy schmancy restaurant, right? A French Laundry. Was it French Laundry? Was that it? Okay.
Yeah.
So Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. And so people were angry because he had put all of these mandates into place for people regarding masks and being in large groups and all of this are part of the rules. So now they're going after the mayor of San Francisco, who, as I mentioned, is a sister London breed. And she got busted because she was at a concert where food and drink was being served, and she got up to bust a move at a very unusual concert because this was the Tony concert, and so she got up to make her move on the floor, and she didn't have her mask on. Pictures were taken. And now people are saying, you can't tell us, we have to wear our mask and you're not out there. She said, well, I had a drink and I'm not, and I put it was on the table. And I felt the music move me. And so I just got up to dance. And they're like, sorry, that's not going to work. That's not.
Tony has done it again.
Thank you, Damon.
And that's how they can get us. Anytime, you just got to put a beat on it. All rules are out. She probably was trying to sit there with her mask the whole time, but then it feels good came on. It really feels good to the baby. Let me leave it, and she couldn't take her seat any longer. Baby. Tony has done it again.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you very much, David. That is that was the story that just got me. And I was like, the rules have to be for everyone. You cannot,
you can't be hypocritical. Yeah.
And she was one of the very first mayors to really shut this down. If you remember, like a year and a half ago, she really shut the city of San Francisco down in an effort to stop the spread. And I guess she just got tired. She's like, okay, I'm going to go to this show and I'm going to have a drink and I'm going to eat and I'm going to dance and I'm not going to wear my mask. So what you got to say about that?
She probably was putting on lip gloss as she was dancing.
Well, there's that too, because she's missed that. All right, let us move to the one last story, and this is to the people of New Orleans who just can't seem to catch a break. The Superdome roof, the roof of the Superdome caught fire this morning. Saying that they believe the fire began at a gutter tub on the roof after a pressure washer caught fire. They say it's been extinguished, but this is the home of the New Orleans Saints, and they got some football to play. So we will see what will happen with them. But just to
it's crazy because during the hurricane, sorry to jump in, they had to move their home game to Jacksonville.
Right.
And then I guess their next home game will be home soon. But this is the first example on record of the roof The roof. The roof. Turns out we do need some water.
And let it burn. They're not scheduled to play in New Orleans until October 3rd against the New York Giants. So hopefully they'll get things straight. All right. It is now time for us to take a look at what's really going on. And this is football related, guys. And I miss watching the NFL, but until Colin comes back, I'm not going to. I'm still trying to hold steady to this. But what is really got my attention regarding football is the number of fights that are breaking out, not on the field, but in the stands and outside before they even get to the game. Have you noticed how, and I think I have about 5 or 6 different stories. So I'm going to start with this one. And what I want to know from people is what this is a great sport. It's a great time. You're able to get back to the game and you are, just having a good time. And yet people are so angry. Why are they so angry at it? Well, okay, maybe it's not America's pastime, but it's one of the pastimes. This is at the Rams Chargers game, and this was in the preseason. They lost, the Rams lost their game, but at least one of the fans lost a considerable amount of blood at this Rams Chargers game at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood during the preseason. The game was close. They said tension in the stands was palpable during the second quarter. And then you saw 2 fans square off. First, they were just going back at each other, blah, 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 you this and you that. And they were just giving each other the words. And then they said fists started flying, leaving the face of one of the dudes bloodied. They said it was unclear what started, but it took a long time for security to come on, amble over, and to break up the fight. And then the guy who was throwing the punches was escorted out of the game, and of course the game continued. But so that's just one game, and that was in the exhibition season. Okay, that was about a month ago. Now, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, let me just start by saying you have stopped watching football forever because Colin Kaepernick is 49 years old. He ain't never playing again. Just so you know. He got a whole TV series and all other stuff. He's moved on. He's watching games. So
he's watching, and I'm the one. Well, you know what, Damon? I do have a reputation for holding on to stuff. So
this is one fight. I think it's time for you to let go because Colin ain't coming back. Colin, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Turn on your TV.
And Damon, even with the possibility of having a starting black quarterback for the Chicago Bears, I'm still not there yet.
Oh, that's a reality. He's in. Our starting quarterback is hurt. I know you didn't see the game,
but I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and watch football. So I was with you. I didn't even know the team name, the teammates, or none of the players. I'd have to probably play PlayStation to find out who's on our team. But I'm back in this season. I held out as long as I could. Sunday's not the same without football, and Colin is not coming back. I don't even think he's working out anymore.
He looks like he can still do it, though, Damon. He looks like he can still just, toss it down the field.
You know how many men say it looks like he can still do it?
And their women go along with, yeah, baby, you're right.
Yeah, but you're past the prime, baby. I won't see you in the fourth quarter.
All right, here we go with another story regarding violence in the Steelers game. Pittsburgh police say they launched an investigation into this at Heinz Field. They said that they were looking into the hits at the Steelers and Lions game that took place in the stands as well. This is the video that shows a man and a woman in some sort of argument. You hear the woman yell something like, "Shut up and get the out." And she apparently made contact when yelling because the man tells her, "Don't touch me." And he swiped her hand away. And that's when you see the woman slap the man. Fists started flying. And the man who was sitting next to the woman, seemingly someone she knew, jumps to her defense. The man who was slapped connects with both of them, one punch, and knocked the guy out who was coming to the woman's defense.
Yep, I saw that for sure. And she did slap the man. And I don't even know what the altercation began about.
Right.
but y'all can start it. He said, I can finish. And so, I don't advocate for hitting a woman, but, these Karens out here, they got to keep their hands to themselves. I do feel bad for the guy who stood up to her defense because he caught it square.
He really
but
did.
They both should have seen it coming because the man took time to take off his glasses.
Right.
When brother takes his glasses off calmly and folds them up, the next thing happening is a punch.
You know what's about to happen. You're absolutely right. Have you seen any of these, Cameron?
I saw that one on this subreddit called Justice is Served. And I was like, wow, they both caught it pretty hard. And I was at a Sox game the other day, and you know how they walk around with the T-shirt cannon and they fire out the T-shirts? Sure. So I guess there was this guy and his girlfriend like sitting behind me. The T-shirt cannon came both of our ways, and I snatched it out of the air, kind of like intercepting it from his girlfriend. And he stood up like he was ready to fight me. And I looked at him and I said, "Dude, you don't want these problems, big fella. Just sat down and watched the game." I'm like, man, like I thought that people don't square up nowadays, but I guess at football, people actually come to blows. I should go to more football games.
No.
First of all, you're a leprechaun because you're lucky enough to grab a T-shirt. And second of all, he's like, don't let this articulation fool you. You can get these hands, sir.
Hey, man, yeah, I got West Side in my blood, and I'm born and raised on the South Side, man. So
word.
So, they've shown pictures like in baseball games, especially Cameron and Damon, where the foul pitch comes in and a foul ball hit, and a kid will get it. It's aimed at the kid and he's underneath it, and then some big guy comes and grabs it and gives it to his girlfriend or whatever, and the kid is these antics at football and baseball, it's just so ridiculous.
Well, I think it's more baseball than football because at least football you're engaged with the game. Baseball is so slow that you have time to just sit there and drink and fight and not even miss a pitch.
That's true.
On baseball games, that's where all these fights are taking place. Even though there was one in Cleveland, if you get into that story next, before the game even started, out in the parking lot in the tailgating.
I have that story too. So let's talk about that one, Damon. And none of these guys look like they were in any kind of shape for this fight. This was at the pregame tailgate, Cameron, and the fight with Cleveland fans knocking each other all about. It was captured on video before the Cleveland Browns Texans game, and so you see in the footage. The brawl began when two fans squared up in the fight in the middle of the parking lot. And it looked like two old fat guys who really weren't going to do much damage to each other. There was some, but then about a half dozen people started going at each other. And then they tried to get involved to break it up. And that's when the chaos ensued. And they said that the scrapping to the ground, they were throwing more and more wild pitches, and then everyone got up. But there was a guy who came in who looked like he actually, I don't know about to you guys, but he looked like he might have been security or something. He was kind of, it looked to be a big black guy wearing a brown T-shirt or sweatshirt or something, and he tried to really break it up, and everybody was just going crazy.
Well, and I saw that. I don't know if he was official security because at first it was a heads up fight, and it looked like from the circle that was formed that was an occasion that happens regularly at Cleveland games.
Yeah, right.
Like, okay, we got to fight. They squared up, and they both missed punches, and then they were swinging all wild. One of them fell after he did connect, but he fell, so then he caught a couple to the head. They stood back up, and the big black guy, like you said, came in between them, and he pushed one guy, he pushed the other guy, and I think somebody pushed him, and I think he said, you know what, this is white folks' business, let me step back, because I didn't see him no more. I think because he was too big to be losing that fight, because he looked like he could have beat everybody out that camera. He looked like the Hulk, bro. But I think he stepped out and said, let me let these white folks handle their own business. I'm going to go over here and drink the beer. The one that called it the worst was the table with food. And somebody's whole setup. Yeah, it was brats and beer and everything all over the place. So, I think they're gonna we should just go back home. That's all. Just go back home.
Because if they were that worked out before the game, can you imagine what could have happened in the stands?
And it looked like they were all Cleveland fans. I didn't see opposing jerseys from what I saw in the quick glimpse. So
Exactly.
That's really crazy.
Exactly.
I'm not really sure what Browns fans have to fight over. Don't the Browns always lose? So why are they
not lately?
Oh,
they're,
really?
They're coming back.
Yeah, they got a new quarterback. They made the playoffs last year.
Okay, then. Well, all right. Maybe they're just burning off some extra steam, trying to work off those brats. I don't know. But,
and no offense, but it's Cleveland. So, they got a lot of animosity and things working up.
And you know what? I was going to say that, but I'm on radio in Cleveland.
I was going to.
Every Tuesday or Thursday on Sam Silk Show. But Cleveland literally is nicer than we know it to be.
That's true.
If you go in the summer, they have a wonderful waterfront.
Beautiful.
So the people need to just cool out. But they must have come from way out. They live in that dismal part of Cleveland. But yeah, Cleveland's a decent city in the summer, man. It's come up lately, to be honest.
Yeah. But they say the same thing about us too in Chicago. So
yeah, you remember Noah was like, man, Cleveland sucks. He was he went hard on the Bulls player when he was playing. But anyway.
Was it Joaquin? Joaquin.
Yeah, Joaquin Noah.
Yeah. So here's one with the Bears and the Rams fans, and I have not talked to our friend Guy Torrey lately, but this is where they got into a brawl at SoFi Stadium. They got into this at the Sunday night game, multiple men throwing and landing massive haymakers, as they call them, violence captured on video. And it started at the beginning of the game against Chicago, LA's game against Chicago. One witness said a Bears fan got into a verbal argument with several Rams fans for cheering the action on the field. What are you there for if you can't cheer in your seat in the stadium? Why are we there?
Yeah, they're going to have to start having opposing team sections like they do in high school. Just to keep us,
you're on this side of the field, and these guys are on the other side of the field. They said it got so aggressive.
Yeah, I don't see how they could be mad at a Bears fan cheering because they only lasted for 6 minutes in that game because we got stumped.
And then LA is like, oh, you're cute. Now watch us play some real football.
Exactly.
So they said some of the men ran into they got settled down by security. They had to step in and request the people that change seats in order to keep the peace. Then after the game, the same men, it was like 3:15, okay? And so the men ran into each other after the game, and they said it didn't take long for fists to start flying there. Multiple scrapes broke out, including one in which a man in a Akeem Hicks jersey was pummeled by punches and kicks. Not Hicks. Come on.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they said
that stadium is in Inglewood.
It's so fine. Yeah. So here's one. Here's another one. And okay, this is going to be my last story. But this is if people really did understand this, I wish somebody would make me understand. So this is at the Bills game in Miami, and they said they were at it again, and they against the Miami Dolphins, and not so much the fighting, but they set a table on fire. They said this happened at Hard Rock Stadium ahead of the kickoff, and people were, throwing themselves into each other and cracking and, going on against each other. And one dude was hoisted up by a couple of others who then tossed him onto a table that was on fire.
What type of crude, like Anglo-Saxon ritual is that? I'm so confused.
How crazy is this?
The craziest thing about all of these stories is sports event tickets are expensive as hell. Who are people that have money for tickets but yet don't have common sense? I don't understand. How are these ignorant ass people getting tickets?
Where I know it's early in the season, but this is like 6 games.
Wow.
And we haven't even gotten into the third week.
Yeah, we're just getting started with these football fights.
Yeah, it's not just, it's human nature overall. Fights on airplanes, fights in grocery stores and Walmarts. You know, we are spiraling into the purge, and I don't know what we're gonna do. The world needs Ghostbusters right now because there's an evil spirit, there's an evil cloud over this place, man. It almost makes you not want to go out. You know, it's a weird scenario, especially in large mass events. That's why, you know, if you come to Riddles, it's only 200 seats. But other than that,
shameless plug.
Other than that, you don't want to be around a whole bunch of people.
Right.
200, chances are there are no nuts.
Just riddles.
Yeah.
Jokes and riddles.
How about that?
And the last one was also at SoFi Stadium, and this was the Cowboy fans tumbling the Chargers fans in a parking lot brawl there as well. Wow. SoFi is not the place, and they get a lot of action because this is the Rams and the Chargers, right?
Yeah, home to both teams.
Yeah. So this is bananas. This is absolutely.
I need you to pray for me because I'm going to the Bears Raiders game, and so is Tom. I talked to him today.
You're going to Vegas for this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm putting together a show out there that Sunday after the game and everything. But yeah, I got a text from Tom today to see if I was still going because he got his tickets. He said.
Yeah. Damon.
Yeah.
I need you to watch out for our boy. And I know Tom will have tickets at a different level than the rest of us. Yeah. But I just can't. We cannot let him,
get pummeled
at a Raiders game. I don't care how big of a Chicago Bears fan he was at one point in his lifetime, how big of a Walter Payton friend he was. But we have to watch. Should we get security for Tom at the?
I'm thinking he's going to probably have security and seats in a suite. And unless Louis Vuitton makes jerseys or Louboutin, he ain't gonna have on no paraphernalia.
He'll have a nice suit on, but you're right. He won't be grunged down or wearing anything resembling a team jersey.
Yeah. Everybody loves Tom. We'll be okay.
Well, bring your hand wraps and your gloves just in case. You never know who might try you.
Hey, I'm wearing some comfortable shoes as well.
There you go. Yep.
But I'm representing. I'm definitely wearing my Walter Payton jersey. I wear that to any NFL game, period. Sweet.
All right, gentlemen, it is now time for us to take a look at what you need to know. And that is our Monday through Friday newsletter. Please go to SybilWilkes.com and sign up for an absolutely free subscription. We talk politics, we talk social justice, we talk health and wellness, as well as business, give you a little HBCU information. And it is really focused and super serving the African-American audience. And Cameron, we're going to put you up first in your story, and you talk about what's going on, or can you give us some idea of what's going on amongst these, and they're not battling, but they're strongly disagreeing Democrats?
Yeah. So the long and the short of it is that the government is approaching the debt ceiling, and the debt ceiling is not this big scary term. It sounds like it because, debt to me, my debt ceiling is very scary, but the ceiling for the government happens every year, right? Mm-hmm. And every year the government votes on a new budget, which thereby raises the debt ceiling. It wasn't even a political issue until the Reagan era, which is a whole nother thing.
Right.
Now, all of Congress has to agree on the government's new budget. And voting to raise the debt ceiling is now used as a political bargaining chip to shut down the government unless certain provisions in laws can be made. So Republicans are saying, Mitch McConnell is saying that he will not raise the debt ceiling unless the infrastructure plan, which is the Build Back Better plan, certain provisions on climate change and Medicare are taken out. Mm-hmm. And that has struck an issue with progressive and centrist Democrats. Progressives are saying, dude, forget Mitch McConnell, just do it. and call it budget reconciliation, which we can do. Centrists are saying, no, our party has to show bipartisanship and unity, which is contrary to Trump's era, where he was just doing whatever it is that he wanted. So this whole debt ceiling and this budget reconciliation is a big political push because, Biden campaigned on bipartisanship. Right. He campaigned on his ability to reach across the aisle and talk to conservatives. If he can't do that, then when the midterms come around, his approval ratings are going to sink even lower. So we need to pay attention to whether or not the Democrats are actually going to deliver on this, because Biden needs some big wins right now. He's been catching a lot of heat. But for everyone out there who's saying, oh, no, the government's approaching the debt ceiling, it's not this big, scary thing. We do it all the time. Worry about your own debt ceilings.
But Cameron, let me ask you this, but isn't there some concern about the fact that we get close to this government shutdown period of time?
Yeah, so the issue with that is that we have seen Republicans in the Obama era purposely shut down the government before. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it stinks because elected officials still get paid.
They still get paid. Exactly.
But, my grandma who's on SSI.
She doesn't.
Right. And my cousin who is serving in Iraq, they don't. So people pay attention to your local politicians who say, I'm opposed to raising the debt ceiling. Mm-hmm. That means that they are not opposed to toying with your family members' lives.
Right. Yeah. And we've seen how long this can go. I mean, we saw how people who are government workers had to take on, second jobs or whatever in order to pay their bills as the government was shut down. And the politicians are sitting at the House or the members of Congress and the Senate sitting at the House or in their offices, not having to worry about a thing, just waiting for this to go past. And everybody knows that the average person is going to pay the cost of this so-called partisanship that is at a fever pitch at this point.
Yeah, when the government shuts down, Congress takes a vacation. Nancy Pelosi sleeps, Mitch McConnell sleeps, whereas our family members struggle week to week. So it's a shame that this whole debt ceiling is just another political ploy so that the Republicans can get what they want. I want to see my Democrats play hardball and just push their legislation through. But bipartisanship is what Joe Biden campaigned on. And so he unfortunately has to deliver on this, which means— Let me ask
you this, Damon and Cameron. At what point do you think Joe Biden is going to throw in the bipartisan BS and just go for the necessity to get things done with his party as best he can? And that includes getting rid of the filibuster as well as getting this budget passed. And the filibuster, getting rid of it in terms of a passage of our civil rights bills and voting election and what have you, policing bills and that sort of thing. What's it going to take for him to say, okay, I'm done with the bipartisan stuff. Let's get it done?
Well, it sounds like, based on the article and what Cameron said previously, is we might have to get past the midterms before Joe decides to go ahead and do the partisan move, because the Republicans don't play the game. When they have the power, they do what they do. Trump plowed through all of his initiatives. Bush plowed through all his initiatives, regardless of bipartisanship or not. And it's time for the Democrats to at some point take a card from their game and do what they do. I mean, they do what they want to do, and you get done what they want to get done, whether we're on board or not, whether it suits us or not. And it's time for the Democrats and the liberal side of politics to go play hardball, or at least match their gangster, because they don't give a damn.
Yeah. So, Cameron, you were going to say something?
No, I agree with what Damon's saying, is that, it's the Republicans, the GOP, they don't care. They just end up doing what it is that they want. And I would definitely think that Joe Biden's hoping that we can take some more seats before
that's not going to work.
Yeah, I'm saying, but
because I don't think we're going to get to the midterms, you guys. I don't think that we're going to get to the midterms and have Biden have a win in the midterms. At this rate, the way things are going, when you look at the way he handled Afghanistan, and there's still, there are going to be all kinds of investigations into that. The way right at this point where he's looking at the way that they have handled the Haitians in just a matter of days, the way that these bills are not getting through, and you are still holding to this bipartisan stuff, I don't think that they're going to make it to November of 2022 and come out with an even larger advantage.
No, but I'm thinking after that, the consequences are less, because then he's not concerned with that, I would say. But I'm speculative. I'm not an expert in the political field, but I just think common sense says that once all the marbles are on the ground, he might as well just go for it and plow through whatever's going to happen. Because if he has a terrible midterm and he has low approval ratings going forward, he may not even be seeking re-election, or he might not be thinking about re-election because he's going to be 82. He really needs to just do what the hell he can while he can, to be honest.
Yeah, Joe Biden was dealt a really bad hand. And the opposing party is just not willing to cooperate. And I wish that he just had a shred of Obama's resolve to just, push some things forward, especially with his infrastructure agenda. People are coming out of the pandemic. People want jobs. We need to fight for the protection of our planet. And also, like, we need paid medical leave for families. All of
There's
this is
so much that he wants to get done, Cameron, and it's all for the good, as far as the more liberal side of the nation believes. But these old these old dudes in the Republican Party, they're not playing, and they don't give a damn. They just don't give a damn. You're right. You're right. One story that we did talk about in the newsletter, and this was Coy Malone's, and this is in your backyard as well, outside the Jewel in Oak Park. A racist professor is charged with a hate crime and accused of spitting on a Black woman, hurling racial slurs at her and her 7-year-old daughter while they were sitting outside the Oak Park Jewels. In addition to and I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm laughing at just my calling it the Jewels. This is a grocery store chain in Chicago. In addition to the felony hate crimes, Alberto Friedman is charged with felony aggravated assault with a motor vehicle, because not only did he almost hit the woman, but he hit her car, according to the court records. And this happened earlier in the month. And he is a professor who teaches neurokinesiology at the National University of Health Sciences in Lombard, Illinois.
Yeah, that psychopath. First of all, I don't know how something else happened to him. Somebody Black must have just slept with his mama, his daughter, or his wife, because he said, "I just don't like Black people." And he crashed his Jaguar into her.
Crashed his Jag, man.
Yeah, not once but twice. And you got to be really angry to run your car into somebody and damage your own car, or attempt to run it. So
how hateful or how good is his insurance?
Yeah, I don't know if Allstate has a racist clause in their insurance plan. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, we have to check with Jake from State Farm and see how that works out.
It's Jake. What are you wearing, Mr. Racist Professor?
A hood.
And the last thing I want to mention, as we were talking about presidential politics with Joe Biden, now there's a young lady out there who is looking to run for president, if not in 2024, in the future after that. And that is the Georgia politician, Stacey Abrams. And she is now on a tour, started in San Antonio, working her way through the Midwest, and then to the East Coast, up and down the East Coast as well. And she is going about introducing herself to people who may not know who Stacey Abrams is. She is the woman who ran for governor, came very close to winning for governor of Georgia back in 2018. And she also is the founder of Fair Fight, which is a voter interaction organization. And so this Black woman is out there, and she is letting people know what she's about, who she is, and that she wants to. She says it's not a question of does she want to be the first Black president. She wants to run for president, period. And so she's out there. All right, gentlemen, that is us for Stacey Abrams. And just some thoughts from you guys regarding Stacey Abrams and the possibility of her being a presidential candidate and for the Democratic Party.
I love Stacey Abrams. She's been on the ground. She's been doing the work, and she's very familiar with the modern nuances of the black struggle. Of course, I want to see all my sisters and my queens united, but a slugfest between Stacey Abrams and Kamala Harris, I'm here for it. I am here for it.
A verbal slugfest, Cameron?
Yeah, let's see him on the debate stage.
Yeah, that's a debate our VP doesn't want.
Right.
And we don't want to throw her under the bus. So I'll leave it at that. But I think, to be honest, Ms. Abrams has been quite effective in her role in harvesting the vote and getting the vote out and turning elections. And maybe she might be better served outside looking in than in that hot seat where she'll be under attack. It might be more so useful. I'm not saying she shouldn't run, but I think she's been very effective in the role that she hasn't organized and strategized. Mm-hmm. But then who would be our candidate? But the point is, like I said, Joe gonna be 82, 83. So we better start thinking about who it's gonna be and thinking about it fast. So why not Ms. Abrams? And I'm glad she's out there pressing the flesh and getting to know people. And she's like taking a page out of my book because I'm going to San Antonio October 22nd, 23rd. I'm going to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania tomorrow, and I'll be in New York at Caroline's next Wednesday. I get it, Stacey. You got to get out there and meet the people.
And give the people what they want.
You got to give the people what they want. But yeah, so like I said, she's very effective in her organizing. And once you're in office, it's a whole different ballgame, and people are coming at you from whole different angles. And I don't know who would want that job anyway, but go for it, Stacey.
Yeah. I will just say, if it comes down to it, Kamala don't want no smoke from Stacey Abrams. No smoke.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. Both strong and professional and very capable women in their own respective rights. So it's now time for Yogi's Jewels, guys, our daily inspiration. And looking at today, when you know how much you are worth, you will stop wasting your time on ridiculousness. How about that? When you know what you're worth and you understand your value, you'll stop wasting your time on ridiculousness. All right, well said. And now Damon has given us a little bit of a heads up on our entertainment and telling us where he's going to be performing. This is also our time to give a shout out to our colleague and someone near and dear to Cameron's heart. Quinn Townsend Riley has dropped her poetry album, And She Worthy. We want to give you a sample of that and let you know that it is available on Apple Music, Spotify, and Tidal.
Hey, Quinn, it's Cameron. I'm sitting here updating one of my old plays, the first full-length play that I ever wrote, actually. I mean, besides the ones that we would come up with as kids, but I'm reflecting on this concept of worthiness, and you know me, I always have opinions on things. It's funny, worthiness is something that I've thought about my whole life. This world does such a good job of making us feel inferior. Constantly, we're looking at other people's lives, looking at glimpses of other people's lives, comparing ourselves to them and what they choose to show us in 10 seconds or less, in 250 characters or less, in a cropped image that's altered with filters and such, and we're always comparing themselves to fabricated representations of ourselves, caricatures of ourselves. And you ask me what does being worthy mean, and as I sit and I work on this old play, we're all worthy by the grace of God, by the will of God, by the grace of the Creator. We're all reflections of the Creator, and we're all worthy to carry out the will of the Creator, which is to take care of one another and to take care of this planet. That's it. And we just have to keep telling ourselves that, and we just have to remember that comparison is the thief of joy. Not just joy, but comparison is the thief of worth.
Nice job, Cameron.
Why that clip? Who decided that?
I didn't make the choice. That was your friend, our executive producer, probably made that choice. But I think it's apropos that we hear it today while you're on. How does it make you feel? Obviously, you don't. You're a little self-conscious about it.
Yes. Yeah, I am. Quinn asked me one day to just reflect off of, what makes people worthy, what makes Black women worthy. And I just couldn't help but just share my thoughts on how we're in this very comparative age. The internet has connected us and let us into one of our lives that people have developed this inferiority complex and have felt the need to posture themselves. And I keep having to remind myself that, that's not real,
but you know what? It's a very powerful piece. And so let's just take it in. And I encourage people to take a listen to it and to go and to download Quinn's wonderful piece of work and artistry. So we commend you, Cameron, for participating. And Damon, we want to wish a happy birthday to Damon A. Williams as well. And then we'll say goodbye.
Well, before we say that, Quinn, that was an excellent piece, brother. And if you came from your heart, you're a very deep, profound brother. But if you on some bull, you're going to get the draws.
Goodbye, everybody.